Hey guys, welcome. Finally, after years of waiting, Star Citizen engineering gameplay is officially dropped into Evocati testing in the tech preview channel for the very first time today. For this Evo testing, it is under NDA rule, and I am not part of it. However, one of our friends is, but to follow the NDA rules, he cannot stream nor share any photos and can only talk about it while playing it. So we sat down with him for hours and talked about it while he was testing it, and I was taking notes. So great thanks to the Great One for patiently go through all those frustrations to test engineering for us for the very first time. And now, please sit tight because I am going to bring those frustrations to every one of you. Are you ready? Let's go. My notes are all over the place because this thing is really all over the place. So let's just go through the notes together with the patch note. First of all, there are 71 ships that are ready for engineering testing. And these ships are Carrack, MSR, Gladius, Saber, Scorpius, Ares, Inferno, Ion, Crosshair, Cutter, Fortune, Fury, Fury MX, and Fury LX, Golem, Guardian QI, Guardian MX, Hale, Mantis, Meteor, Intrepid, Polaris, Prowler, Pulse, Pulse LX, Retaliator, Santoki I, Spirit C1, Spirit A1, Starlancer Max, Starlancer Attack, Sulan, Talon, Talon Shrek, Terrapin, Asgard, Storm, and Storm AA, Vanguard, Warden, Harbinger, Sentinel, Vulture, Nomad, Nova, Zeus CL, Zeus MR, STV X1, Ursa Medevac, Apollo Triage and Apollo Medevac, and the Paladin. Oof, it's a long list. Now through this list, we can see ships from the light fighter all the way to a ship like the Carrack, like the Polaris, are ready for testing. But this list does not include the Aegis. We can also see from this list that even some of the hover bikes like the X1 and the ground vehicles like the Ursa Medevac, also the Nova tank, are included for engineering. But of course, this is only the tech preview, which means this is gonna stay in the tech preview channel for a very long time before it even have a chance to release into the live build. So this is not gonna be anytime soon thing. And 71 ships is really not enough because if engineering is going to come to live patch, we really need all the flyable ships come up to the engineering standard. Otherwise, there's going to be some kind of unfair advantage for ships that do not have engineering fully implemented. That's my opinion. The testing focus for this build has many. First of all, engineering gameplay systems. Second, power management. Third, heat and life support systems. Fourth, fire and relay mechanics. Fifth, component damage and repair. All these five are mingled together. Number one is ships. Power management of items through engineering screen and through MFD. In the testing, we learned that some of the engineering screens are currently not working. However, I don't know where he saw that, but one of the engineering screen shows the message. You can say a log of the engineering event. For example, 5 minutes ago, the shield generator was damaged. Or 5 minutes ago, the shield generator was disabled. Something like that, like an event log for all the little detailed engineering event. In the cockpit, currently, we learned that the power management screen is same. And by the way, the ships that we were testing is the Polaris. So most of the things that I'm going to be talking about is on the Polaris itself. So on the Polaris, in the pilot seat, you have an extra MFD, which is called diagnostics. And on the diagnostics, you can see the event log that I was talking about. The message of when, what happened to which component. 6 minutes ago, power plant was turned off, something like that. Or power plant was damaged. Also, on the diagnostic screen, you can turn off individual guns on your ship. You can turn off individual PDCs. You can turn off individual turret base. And you can turn off individual components, turn off missiles, or even turn off torpedoes. He also mentioned torpedo racks, so I'm not sure if you can turn off the individual torpedo racks or just turn off the torpedo altogether. But they are very detailed thing that you can turn them off. Another thing that's very important, you're gonna love this, is that you can turn off individual thrusters This was in the game before they changed the whole power management system, right? You can turn off different thrusters and stuff. So it is coming back through engineering. You can turn off individual thrusters through that diagnostic MFD. Now move on with the patch note. It says engineering screen is active. So when engineering screen is active, you can see the room overview and notifications for failure. Maybe this is the log that we're talking about, and power management as well. You can creating presets. We didn't test that. And component turn on and off control. Yes, component turn on and off, and thrusters, guns, individual PDCs, missiles. And also, talking about the room overview, another feature that he was talking about is that on your mini-map, if you are on a Polaris or on a multi-crew ship, on your mini-map, you can see individual components, the position of where the individual components are, and they are colored green if the component is in full health. If the component is damaged, on your mini-map, you can see the orange symbol for that particular component. It's not a dot, but a holographic image of the component. In green or in orange, I assume if the component is dead, it might show different color like the red, but I can't be certain. But we do see green and orange color for the specific component on your minimap. Very nice feature. So cross that off my notebook. Now move on is diagnostic screen MFD. Yes, we talk about that. Diagnostic screen MFD. You can see that on the pilot seat. Overview of all components. Yes. And one-time repair through button click for completely broken items to allow single-seaters a one-time off repair. Yes, this one we tested as well. The situation you use this is after a heavy combat. Your component is completely broken. For example, your shield generator is completely broken. So on the diagnostic screen, there is a button. It says repair, and that repair button is on individual component. For example, on the shield generator which is broken, you click repair, and then the shield generator will be repaired to 20% of health. However, the shield generator will be down for 5 minutes during that repair time, and this repair is a one-time repair. So after you repair this once, you can't repair that again. If your shield generator is broken again, you do have to take it to a station or to a repair ship, which will come later, to completely repair it. And then you have the option again to repair it only once. Especially the patch note says to allow single-seaters a one-time off repair. Now, the test we did is on the Polaris. Maybe on a single-seater, the repair time is shorter because the components are lower size. For example, size 1 shield generator will take about 1 minute to repair, and size 2 takes 2 minutes, size 3 takes 5 minutes. For that, we don't know. Next one, critical state and health overview of all components. And you can see that from the diagnostic screen MFD and on and off control of all components. Yes, we talk about that. Now, before we move on to the next section, let's talk about repairing components. So what my friend tested is using the Cambio SRT, the big handheld repair tool. He was repairing the Polaris shield generator, which is a size 4 shield generator. 7 seconds to restore 1% of health, which means the higher the size of the components, the longer it will take to repair. And how to repair? You do need the RMCs to repair, but to repair the components, it takes very little RMC, so you don't have to constantly to salvage to get the RMC for repairing. But it does take a longer time to repair higher size components. So for a multi-crew ship, the capital ship, for example, the Polaris, if your shield generator is heavily damaged, you might need 3 or 4 people to repair it all at once in order to restore it to health quicker. Otherwise, you're gonna have to withdraw from battle, or you can just get destroyed without the shield generator. So the engineering is going to add multiple layers of complexity to the multi-cruise ship gameplay. I won't use the word frustration because those complexity can easily be turned into frustration. Now, when he was repairing a size 3 shield generators, the repairing time is quicker. So size does matter, especially in regard to repairing the components. Oh, by the way, the toilet also shows up on your minimap. Okay, now you know. I'm gonna cross this off my list. Okay, next thing on the list regarding the component health is this. The less health the component has, the less effective it functions. For example, a 20% health of a cooler will be much less effective than an 80% health for the cooler. And by the way, the cooler function is fully in-game. And they are very, very important. If you turn off all your coolers, your ship is going to get overheated really fast, and all your other components is going to get burned and damaged, and your ship is going to be completely disabled by not using coolers. Now, without using enough coolers, meaning without giving enough power pip to your coolers, this will also affect the heating of your components. Your components will overheat over time, and it will also disable your ship over time. So repairing components is not like when the component is severely damaged, you go to repair it. Repairing component is going to be a full-time, consistent work. If it's during heavy combat, your components are going to get damaged quicker. So you will need some people constantly repairing your components. And one person is not enough because on a multi-cruise ship, your components are all over the place and they are bigger components. You need to station people at different places for those components. And some places you might need to position multiple peoples to repair it, constantly repair it. But to what degree the components get damaged over time, we don't know. And that really has to be balanced. If the component get damaged a lot quicker, then it's really difficult to manage a multi-cruise ship. And now, continue on with the patch note. It says heat management of items. Items that are powered will produce heat that needs countering of coolers. Overheated components will shut off to cool down again. So if you do not give enough cooling power to your components, your component will overheat and shut down, and there is certain time it will shut down. Maybe 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, I'm not so sure. But eventually your components will get cooled and then function again. How your components get damaged by those overheat, we do not know yet. Maybe it will get damaged quicker, maybe it will just have a little bit of damage without enough cooling power, we don't know. Next one is life support management. Life support will manage breathable atmosphere and temperature of rooms. Not yet affected by players breathing, affected by fire, affected by venting the ship. Now, this is a very interesting one. First of all, life support is fully in-game, and it is very important for survival. Life support controls two main things. One is the temperature of the room, and second is the oxygen. Without life support, the oxygen level will be downed. And without life support, the room temperature will go very, very low. You will see frost on your body, just like on Macrotech for a few minutes. Your whole armor is white. So we do need to start prepare oxypens, just in case if we have to turn off life support for an extended period of time. I think it's more than 8 minutes. You will use all the oxygens on your suit. It also depends on what kind of suit you are wearing. But in a couple minutes, your oxygen will run out without life support. So you do have to inject yourself with the oxypens. And also life support system will be affected by fire. This is quite complex. And it was a lot of things going on once the ship is on fire. So I'm not exactly sure what happened during my friend's testing. I can't be certain. But common sense is telling me that if the ship is on fire, maybe turn off life support will help. Because first of all, the oxygen is gone. And then the temperature is cooled. So that might be easier to put off the fire. And also, life support is affected by venting the ship. We all have a habit of opening all doors when we fly a ship, if we have friends to go in or out of the ship, or even for ourselves, right? But once engineering is in, opening all doors is a big mistake, because opening all doors will vent all oxygen from your ship, unless you have the air shield. For example, on the Polaris, you do have the air shield on the top hanger. You see that blue filter thing? That's the air shield. However, if you're opening all doors for the Polaris, the bottom hanger, there is no air shield. And also the airlock has no air shield. So the atmosphere will be venting through those doors if you open all doors. Now, for a multi-crew ship, no more opening all doors. You have to ask someone that controlling engineering to open specific doors in order to keep the oxygen inside the ship. And also, apparently, different rooms on your multi-crew ship will have different temperatures. I don't know how that will imply to the gameplay, but that's what we find out as well. Next section, fire on ships. Oh boy. Fire can spread. During his test, the fire spread the entire Polaris, and the walls of the Polaris, the floors, everything went on smokes and become dark. Oh, I wish we could see it, but we can't. Just by his expression, that's crazy. But for the first time, it's really cool. So fire can spread, not only spread, but can spread throughout the entire ship if it goes out of control. Second, fire can be triggered through overheated components. Fire can get triggered through damaging of components. Yes. So if you shooting components with energy or ballistic weapons can ignite the components, and then the fire can spread throughout the ship. Fire can get extinguished, venting of rooms, or fire extinguisher. Yes, venting of rooms, if you have to, that's when you need to extinguish the fire. Just vent the rooms, vent off the oxygen. You can put out the fire. Or through the fire extinguisher. Now, talk about the fire extinguisher. The fire extinguisher can be equipped as a primary weapon slot. One fire extinguisher can be used up. When the fire extinguisher is used up, you simply put the fire extinguisher back onto the slot and it will recharge. I don't know how long it will recharge, but it will recharge. And then you can pull it out and use that again. Now, patch note says this, info. Right now, temperature needs to be brought down to prevent reignition. Yes. So the problem that he was having is not only to put off the fire, is to prevent the fire from reigniting, because the fire keeps reigniting on his Polaris. Next section, relays connect items throughout the ship. This one we haven't got time to test. Number one, relay function changed and it's not in yet. The goal is fully intact relays allow the full power throughput. That means each fuse that gets destroyed will reduce the total power available in the ship. Change. Relays are not the hard weak point anymore, where if you lose all fuses, you render that part of the ship dead. Yes, that's very good. Basically, what it means is not one fuse to determine whether the ship can be disabled or not. The fuses are just a very minor part of the engineering gameplay. If the fuse gets destroyed, you simply reduce the total power output, which can be essential eventually. So the fuses are still in play. You need to prepare enough fuses in order to replace them, but that's it. The fuse does not determine the life and death of the ship anymore. But what does are the component damage. Next section, component damage. Ship weapons will penetrate the hull and damage the components below. Component death will result in component not being functional, but it can be repaired. So patch note did say, even if the component is dead, it can still be repaired. Repairing different sizes of components will require different amount of time. and manpower to do so. Power plant can go into a critical state that will make the ship explode. We haven't got time to test this, but this is very similar to the power plant gameplay in Elite Dangerous. If you just target a ship power plant in Elite Dangerous, destroy that power plant, even the ship still have 10% hull, it will just go explode. This also brought to a very important thing, which is sub-targeting, because in Elite Dangerous, sub-targeting is very easy. You can see the name of the parts you're targeting. So I hope they also redo the sub-targeting. If you can sub-target, for example, a power plant, at least on your MFD, it will say power plant, something like that. It's very essential, I think, for the engineering gameplay. Otherwise, you don't even know what you're targeting at unless you have to go to precision mode to look and find it, which is really problematic. Continue on, info cannot be countered yet, but is supposed to get countered through repair or removing the power plant if possible. Next one, armor of ships is not yet in. Did not make it in time, which means the armor is supposed to be in, right? So I think we're gonna have a intermediary ship armor or kind of fake armor in the beginning for engineering before the Maelstrom fully come into the game. And that will bring us to the next very important factor, which is weapon balancing. Updated weapon balancing to account for penetration and new damage. Haven't got a chance to test that. This means, especially for the ballistic weapons, they will be able to penetrate through hulls of a certain ship. Of course, it will also depend on the size of the ship and also size of the ballistic weapon. A size 1 ballistic weapon, I doubt will penetrate through the hull of an Idris. But maybe a size 8 ballistic from the Perseus can definitely penetrate through the capital hull and directly cause damage to the components. And I think this is about it. I crossed every single point on my note. And this is by no means comprehensive. This is just bits and pieces that we're able to test. And some of the things I talk about that we tested might be changed in the next patch. So this is in a very early stage for ship engineering. But as you can see, this will add a lot of complexity to how you play the game. The entire game will be changed to one degree or another. I do hope that CIG keep it into a proper balance, add certain amount of complexity, but not too complex as to discourage people from using multi-crew ships or even from playing the game altogether, because the game is getting more and more complex. And the more complex the game gets, the more bugs will be born through those little dark corners. So that's my thought. I really wish for a proper balance. But I do look forward to the engineering gameplay, which will get our orc people more involved, especially for the support division, being an engineer on a multi-crew ship. But either way, once engineering comes into life, the entire game will be changed all over again. Because Star Citizen is a game based on spaceships. And engineering will change how we fly and fight with our ships. That's it. Thanks for listening. See you guys in the next one.